FX Nation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And as we continue to get caught up on these questions that you guys are asking me, I'm probably going to answer one of the most important questions that I get asked the most in this video. So the question is, can you trade the NAS100 with this strategy? And let me show you if it's possible, yes or no. That way you could be aware of whether or not you should be using this strategy to trade that NAS100. All right, so without further ado guys, let's get this video going. First things first, let's get the NAS 100 up here and let's take a look at it. All right, so here's the NAS100. The first thing you got to ask yourself, this works with any chart, any pair, anything that you're trying to see if it works with the strategy or not, right? The first thing you got to understand is, you got to answer really is, can you break down the chart to where you can make sense of the directional bias? Can you break down the chart where you could see peak formation, highs, lows, resets, failed resets, things of that nature? That's the first thing. Then secondly is, can you see the patterns? Are there any actual patterns that develop when you put on our indicators? All right, do you see patterns develop? And so forth and so on. So let's go ahead and let me show you how to break this chart down. And just give me a quick second and enjoy the process here of me breaking down a chart. Once I kind of break it down, I'll go ahead and show you why I broke it down, how I broke it down. All right, so just give me a second here. Let me start with putting everything together. All right, guys, so I know that was quick on how I did it, but you have to understand that, like, I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm very familiar with breaking down a chart. But let me explain to you what all the boxes mean and how I got there. So I went back to basically the beginning of the year, back to the closest biggest high, which is up here. So it's November 2021. Okay, and then from there, essentially, I'm just trying to figure out where are the possibilities for the peak formation highs, peak lows, resets, and things of that nature. Okay, now I've just put boxes on, right? I haven't verified whether the boxes are actually correct or not. So the process of that is essentially doing this, going to find out what is the ADR in those particular ranges, like in this area over here, over here, and see if they match up. So if I go back to this particular time frame here, and I put on this Asian range here, and I just want to see what is the ADR at this particular time. So you can see the ADR is somewhere in the 250s, range. So if we look here, from here to here is about 1200 pips on this scale here, we actually don't worry about the last number. 1,224 pips is what it is. So if we ask our friend Siri, it'll give us some math. So, hey Siri, what's 1,200 divided by 270?
1,200 divided by 270 is approximately 4.4444.
There you go. So that would give us a full cycle here. So that's correct. Right. So essentially, we can now put in, confirm that that's a peak formation high here, and this would be a peak formation low here. All right, so now if we take the same, apply the same thing, I'm just going to play it real quick to see what the average is here. So we're in the 350s still. So if we go from here to here, we get about 89, 890. So hey Siri, what's 890 divided by 350?
890 divided by 350 is approximately 2.5428.
So 2.5, that's good enough for a full cycle. So that's that one. Okay. I know that by doing this, like this move here, this move is going to be a failed reset. And that's going to be another peak high. This is going to be a failed reset. The reason is because it didn't complete a full cycle, but it didn't pass the structure. So it wouldn't be an actual reset, obviously, because it'd be going higher. It just went back up to retest it. So this is a failed reset here. And then obviously, we're going to get probably a full cycle from here to here down again, because that's over 900. If this was 2.5 and that was a full cycle, clearly that's going to be another full cycle as well. So that's perfectly fine. That'll be another peak formation low. And then clearly, if from here to here is a peak formation or is a full cycle, we know definitely from here to here is going to be a full cycle too. This is actually going to be more, and we can just confirm that this is going to be 1,100, 1,100. So we could ask, hey Siri, what's 1,100 divided by 370?
1,100 divided by 370 is approximately 2.9729.
Yeah, so that's a full cycle there. And the reason, by the way, if you're thinking, why am I using 370? I'm taking the averages that I see of ADRs from here all the way to the top for this cycle. That's why. So it starts at like 400, but then it ends at like 360. So for me, the average is going to be somewhere around 370 or so. So that's why I picked that specific number. And then as this plays out, we can kind of start to measure. You can kind of already start to see, like, all right, well, if this was a cycle, we definitely know that this is going to be another cycle here too. So then you start to go through it. And you can see how this cycle differs from this one, where this one was averaging around 370. You can see this ADR now is averaging way lower. So where we went from, the 370s, now we're averaging about, I would say maybe 320, 315 or so with this one. And so, again, you could just literally confirm it. Hey Siri, what's 1,500 divided by 320?
1,500 divided by 320 is 4.6875.
So there's another cycle there. This is going to end up being a reset. Yeah, this is going to end up being a reset here. And so the difference between a failed reset and a reset is the fact that that obviously you could see we were coming off of a peak formation low, right? We're coming off a peak formation low, but then so we're expecting more buys, but we end up getting a down movement which passes this previous structure. So this is a reset where, as you can see on this one, where it did the same thing. It didn't pass it, it just met it and then came right back down again to do a full cycle. And if you want to get deeper into resets and stuff, I have plenty of videos on resets. Just check out the playlist on trading with market makers in the linked in the video in this video below. And I mean, there's tons of videos. There's over 200 videos now about all this stuff. So the entire strategy is there. We got the reset, and so we're just basically now moving down. And we know that, you know, obviously if it's going down to this very bottom here, we know that that's going to be another cycle, right? And then now again, notice how this is what 2000 now. Notice how this cycle here, it went back up again. So now we went from, you know, the 300s, now we're like 345, you know, 400. So we know that that's another cycle there. And if we keep playing this, we can kind of start to see how this is going to play out here. We're in the 500s now, so we know this is going to probably be another reset here. That's going to be another peak formation low here. This is going to be another reset here. So we came down, we went from a reset to a peak formation low. So of course we came up here and did the same thing. So we reset it again, and then obviously this goes down to another full cycle here. As we work our way down from here to here, that's going to be another full cycle there. So this will be a peak formation high. Obviously this coming back down again would be another peak formation low. This right here is going to end up being a failed reset. We know that this is going to end up being a failed reset because we don't have enough to complete a full cycle here. And then you can see obviously this came back to retest that low again. So that's why that's a failed reset. And then we essentially go back up, and you can kind of basically see what's going to happen here. It is going to be a complete cycle, a reset, and then another full cycle, a failed reset, a peak formation high again, and then going all the way down. So peak formation high, failed reset, peak formation high, peak formation low, reset, and then that's where our price is. So pretty much everything works out how it should, right? As far as you can build out the structure of NAS100 to match how we trade, right? How we follow the charts or how we follow structure, which is great. That's a good thing, okay? So now that we know that we could follow the NAS and we can break the NAS down like this, the next question that we have to ask is, does it produce actual trade setups on the 15-minute time frame where we trade? So that's going to be the next thing. And so let's go down to the smaller time frame now, and then let's see if we can find trade setups that match what we're looking for as far as patterns go. Okay. All right. So here, let's say our bias is to sell because we're coming off of a reset, right? We have a type 4 here. So that would be a setup. This one ends up being a multi-session type 1 pattern. You could see where the railroad track is at the beginning of the US session here, and that would be one trade. At this point here, you wouldn't know this is a reset until this actual part happens. So if that's the case, you would have, and you're thinking of, let's just say, buys, because you're coming off of a peak formation low, you would have a buy option here as a multi-session. So that's one trade there. You would have another buy here as a type 3. So that's another option there. And then here you would have a trade out of the edge, also a type 2. That would be a buy. Let's see, this right here, this would be another type 3 here as a buy. So that would be another trade setup. All right, and then as far as sells now, because we're coming off of another peak formation high here. Let's see, this would be a trade out of the edge as a sell, so that pattern matches. If I'm looking for another sell, you would have this right here as a multi-session with a pullback. So that would be another trade. This right here would be a type 1 trade as a sell. So the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to see how many trades are going to be available, because if it's great to be able to break down the structure, but if you can't find the trades, then it doesn't make any sense to even think about trading this. This right here would be another type 2 in the London session. So there are trade setups that would work. This should be a type 3 here as a sell. So yes, can you trade NAS 100 with our strategy? The answer is yes. From what I can see, you can. Now, me personally, I have not back tested this. This is literally the first time I'm looking at this chart to break it down for you so you could kind of have an answer. Here's a type 3 going back up. But, based on what I'm looking at here, yes, you can trade this with our strategy. Just like anything, though, with any new pair that you go into, you definitely want to backtest first and see how far back can you find these trades. But I mean, if we can go back to let's say the beginning of 2020, or not even beginning of 2021, and you could still, if you can keep this structure going, all the way back to like January of 2021, and you could see the setups, then I would say yes, 100% you could trade this with the strategy. But this is just like literally a quick sample. To do that would take, obviously several hours to do that, but at least you would have your answer definitively for sure. Yes, you can trade it. But I mean, based off of what I'm looking at here, as far as all of the setups, yes, you can definitely trade NAS100 with the strategy that we use. This is another trade set up here. And I know it may be hard to see the setups that I'm talking about because you may not be able to see the boxes that I see. So there are if you can't see them, there are shadow boxes here, right, that dictate the Asian, London, and U.S. session. So I know what the setups look like when I see the boxes. So that's how I'm able to tell you whether or not they're setups or not. So you may not be able to see them, but I can. This is another setup here. So yes. That's a type 3 right here. You can definitely, this is a continuation trade in the U.S. session also. Right there. So if you want to trade the NAS100, you can trade the NAS100 using this strategy. The first thing I would tell you though is to just make sure and backtest it first, because I know obviously the ADR is super high on this. So the risk management is going to be super important on this, because the lot size is going to matter a lot when you're trading this. So just keep that in mind if you are going to trade this stat. You need to be very careful with the lot size that you use, because the pip value on this is extremely high. It's like almost trading gold when it comes to the pip value. So just be very careful when trading this. That's why I always say just do the back testing first, get it out the way, get the data first, and then you could, start to actually trade it. But if you've never traded NAS100, it is definitely something that's way different in the sense of like trading like a pair, like a pound JPY or something of that nature. Okay, keep in mind that if we take everything off, and I do know this, if you take everything off and you just look at the price action on the NAS100, this is on a weekly chart. What does that look like? Right? It looks like, or S&P 500 is what it looks like, right? The S&P 500 chart. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that when you're looking at this, is that the overall trend of this is actually just to buy. So just be mindful of the bigger time frame, that this looks very similar to an S&P 500. Okay, so I hope that this has answered many of your questions regarding the NAS100. I know that another chart that I keep getting asked about is the US 30, and I'll make a video on that one as well. Just the same thing. Can we break down the chart, and are we able to see the patterns that develop within that structure? All right. So with that being said, guys, if you like these types of videos like this, please give me a like, share the content, subscribe to the channel. If you want help, or if you want to follow my charts that I have that are literally laid out like this, so you could have a directional bias, that is what FXN Plus is all about. Basically, you literally see my charts that I look at every day to follow, that I trade with. For the next 30 days, everyone that joins FXN Plus will have access to the Blueprint Summit. That's 14 hours of video and 9 sessions. Okay, so take advantage of that, because it's only available for the next 30 days. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I know this may have been a long video, but I'm sure hopefully it was worth watching it and bringing you the value, guys. Until the next video, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your trading week.